my name's Lydia and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming my Christmas and Waterstones haul. So I was just going to do a Christmas haul, but I didn't actually get that many books for Christmas. I only asked for a couple. And then I went to Waterstones and took full advantage of their 50% off hardback sale. So I will be doing a joint books I got in the vicinity of Christmas haul. Usually my entire Christmas list is books, but when I sent it to my parents, there wasn't much I could think of, so there were only 2 books on my Christmas list. Actually there were 3, but one of them was the Atlas 6, which isn't even out yet, so I'm not sure why I put it on my Christmas list. I think it was maybe back when you could get it on Amazon, now you can't. And I have pre-ordered the sprayed edge edition from Waterstones, so might end up with 2 copies of that if they pre-ordered it as well. So the 2 books that I asked for are Last Chance Books by Kelsey Rodkey. I just keep hearing things about this. It sounds really cute. I love this cover. I think that's adorable. And yeah, bit of contemporary. I haven't read that much contemporary recently, so I thought this was a perfect way to get back into it. And the next one is one that I've been hearing so much about for so long. I think I must follow the author on Twitter, or someone I follow always likes and retweets their stuff, because that is The Witch King by H.E. Edgman, which I see everywhere. I've heard nothing bad about this. Everything is like a glowing review, and it's really queer, so what's not to love? Queer YA fantasy, not a ton of that around, but we're seeing a lot more recently, so that is exciting. The next 3 I got for Christmas were books that, well, my mum and I went to Waterstones a couple of weeks before Christmas, and we went a bit wild and we put loads of books in our bag and said we'd just wrap them up for Christmas. So there are 3 that I then got, and the first one is The Haunting Season. So this is a whole bunch of different authors. It's 8 authors, and it is Ghostly Tales for Long Winter Nights. So this is a perfect January read. Amazing cover. I love this cover. And it has stenciled edges. If you don't know, I'm an absolute whore for stenciled edges. I have recently redone my bookshelves so that I have an entire bookcase that is dedicated to books with sprayed and stenciled edges, and it looks pretty damn cool. I might have filmed some clips of that. I will put them in here. The next one is All the Fun of the Fair by Caroline Hulse. This is one I've never heard of, but I saw it while we were browsing on Waterstones and it looked really good. I was intrigued, and there are good blurbs about it. And it's also one that I think my dad would enjoy, so we got it so that multiple people could read it. So this is about a girl who all she wants to do is go to the fair, but she's never been allowed because before she was born her older sister died at the fair. But now she's turning 12 and she's going to the fair. It's not young adult or middle grade, even though it's about a child. It's one of those that's in the adult section with a child protagonist. I'm never fully sure where the line is with what makes a child protagonist a middle grade versus an adult read. I don't really know, but maybe I'll find out after I read this. And the last one I got for Christmas is one that I could not resist when I saw it in the shop, and that is The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict. I mean, look at this. It's like Knives Out meets Cluedo, but it's Christmassy. I will just show you the end pages. I mean, it's literally like a Cluedo board. So this kind of, I've started this already. I'm 60 pages in. It's kind of got Inheritance Game vibes, and I love the Inheritance games. That's one of my favourite YAs. This is about a whole bunch of sort of disparate family members who've been called back to their family estate after one of them has died, and she's left a whole bunch of clues and games to figure out some mysteries. There's suspicion over how she died and how her sister died. The protagonist is the daughter of the first woman to die and the niece of the one who set up the game. So there's a lot of like feuding family members and secrets. I love anything to do with Cluedo or like figuring things out. Another thing that I really enjoy about this book, I mean, I haven't figured any of it out yet, but I hope I'll enjoy it. There are games within the book for the reader. So we've got the game within, there we go, the game within the Christmas Murder Game. So this is for the reader, I'm pretty sure. So we've got game 1 is the 12 Days of Christmas, and each of the lines from the song The 12 Days of Christmas is turned into an anagram and hidden within each relevant chapter. So the section of the book that is the first day of Christmas, some point there's going to be an anagram of a partridge in a pear tree and so on, which is going to be like impossible to figure out. There is no way I'm going to even know what an anagram of a partridge in a pear tree is without cheating. But I'm interested to see if anything jumps out. And then game 2, I will never get. This is the titles of 12 of the author's favourite Christmas country house mysteries are scattered throughout the book. I don't know a single Christmas country house mystery, so there is no way I'm going to figure that out. But I love that there's like an interactive side for the reader as well. That just really spoke to me. So there we go. And it's so shiny. Next, there are 2 books that I got off Amazon, also in the Christmas period, that just arrived after Christmas Day. So I figured I'd include those. So the first one is Explorers at Pirate Island by Alex Bell. This is the 5th book in the sort of Explorers Club series. This is a middle grade series featuring young explorers going on wild adventures across the world, finding crazy things. I've really enjoyed the first 4, which surprised me because I've read Alex Bell's books before. There was one set in New Orleans and there was Frozen Charlotte, both of which I didn't enjoy. But I've really liked this series. It's very comforting, it's really easy to read. So I figured I'd get the 5th one. I don't think she's published any more after this one yet, so it'll be a waiting game. And then someone in Rose Patreon mentioned that Empire of the Vampire was down to like £8 on Amazon. So I got myself the just plain UK hardback of this. I have the Illumicrate edition, which is absolutely stunning, so I don't really want to ruin that by reading it. If I end up reading this, which I want to, but I mean it's really big, then this is the version I will read. Okay, so now we have my big Waterstones haul. So if you didn't already know, this past 3 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Waterstones have had 50% off all their hardbacks, and I went to 2 different Waterstones and I didn't spend much money. I think it should have come to like £120, but I had a £50 Waterstones card from work, a £20 one from my brother, and £50 in stamps that I've saved up. So all in all, I paid about £3.50 for 11 hardbacks and 4 paperbacks. So that's a pretty good deal. You can't really beat that. So first off, I will show you the paperbacks, all of which are middle grade. So we have Tilly and the Map of Stories, which is book 3 in Pages & Co. I've read book 1, I own book 2, so I figured I'd get book 3 because it made it up to like it was like £64, so I made it up to 70 to get extra stamps. So that is the first paperback that I've got. Then we have Murder on the Safari Star by M.G. Leonard and Sam Sedgman. This is a very easy reading mystery middle grade series about a 12-year-old and his uncle who go on loads of train adventures, and the protagonist Hal always ends up finding himself embroiled in some kind of mystery. There was a jewel thief on the first book and a kidnapping in the second book. This one has a murder. And the next one is the sequel, which is Danger at Dead Man's Pass, another train-based mystery with Hal and his uncle. The last of the paperbacks is The Good Bear by Sarah Lean. Don't know anything about this, but the cover's really cute. It looks really wintry. It sounds like a feel-good read about a girl who goes to Norway and I think she befriends a bear. She's got some family problems. Things aren't how she wants them to be. And yeah, it was in the buy one get one half price as well as Danger at Dead Man's Pass. So that made these two, I think it was like £12 for the 2 of them. Onto the hardbacks. So all of these were half price in the big hardback sale. I went to my local Waterstones first and I think I got 3 or 4 and then got another 7 or 8 from Birmingham, which I went to on Monday, which was heaving. Everyone was queuing up to look at the cloth-bound classics, so I'm glad I don't enjoy classics. I did have to have a look at them though because they are gorgeous, but they are not for me. I hate every classic I've read, which is about 2 or 3. Never going to read another one. I hate the writing style, I hate the themes, I hate how white and cis everything is, and there are like no queer characters, and if there are, it's a bad thing. I am not interested in that. I will never read a classic. I hate them, but they're really pretty. So the first book I got in the half-price hardback sale was the anniversary edition of Sabriel by Garth Nix, purely because Ro is always going on about this book. I think it's her favourite of all time. She raves about it, and I bought this thinking of her, and then when I did my 12 books by 12 friends challenge, she recommended this to me and every other person who posted the challenge. So good thing I got my copy. Don't really know what it's about. It's fantasy. It's quite an old one. This is the 25th anniversary edition, so it must have come out in when I was born, 1996, I'm assuming. Not that fussed about the cover, but I've heard great things, so it's about time I gave this a go. The next one I got is All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. I've heard so much about this. I thought it was going to be in some book boxes, but it wasn't in any of the ones that I get or that I'm interested in. I wasn't sure if I was going to get this at first because there was a lot of controversy last year about Christine Lynn Herman being a bit of a shit person. But I've heard some great reviews of the book, and a lot of people I know seem to be enjoying it. So I figured I'd give it a go. It was pretty cheap in the half-price hardback sale. I think it was like £8. So same as a paperback. And I love hardbacks. I much prefer them to paperbacks. I mean, you can spray the edges yourself and make them look pretty on a shelf. There's a salacious tell-all book. Tourists and reporters flocking to spell shops. And every generation, 7 families name a champion to compete in a tournament to the death. So it's kind of like a darker version of Hunger Games, I think. It says at the top, you fell in love with the victors of the Hunger Games, now prepare to meet the villains of the Blood Veil. So, I mean, I don't like the cover. I think that's a really lazy cover. I mean, it's a relatively big book. I think they're both relatively big authors. I've heard of both of them before. I don't know why the cover is so basic. But yeah, that does sound really good. That sounds right up my street. Next, we've got my last middle grade, and that is Pages & Co. The Book Smugglers, which is book number 4, I think. I figured I might as well get it while it was there in the deal, seeing as I have 1, 2, and 3. And I really like these hardbacks. They've got, they're shiny. I don't like the shininess, but I like the naked hardback. And I kind of like that they're a weird size. Like, they're really short and square. Compared to a little ditty book. But yeah, this is another cute middle grade series about a girl who lives in a library or a bookshop with her grandparents and figures out that she can travel between the pages of a book and get lost in the story. So I've only read the first one. It was a really quick read, so maybe when I'm feeling a bit slumpy next year, I will turn to this series. So as you've already seen from that comparison, the next one is Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson. I loved Skyward when I read it, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. I was at uni still. Absolutely loved it, devoured it, thought it was fantastic. Couldn't wait for Starsight to come out, and I still haven't read Starsight. So that is on my, well, it's not on an official TBR for this year, but I would like to try and get to it. And I figured I might as well get Cytonic, so I've got all the hardbacks and only pay. This was £10, that's quite a lot still, but better than 20, and I want it. I'm sure I'm going to love Starsight. I devoured Skyward, so yeah, might as well get the finale. This next one is one I've never heard of, still haven't heard about it, haven't heard anyone talking about it, but it's got sprayed edges. I mean, look at those. I love how it actually looks 3D, the way they've painted it. So this is Reprieve by James Han Matson. Yes, it is Reprieve, yeah. And again, this has really cool end papers. Ooh. It's Quigley House. So this, the minute I saw those sprayed edges, I thought, I hope that sounds like a good book, so I really want those edges on my shelf. And it sounds incredible. So this is about, in 1997, there was like a reality competition where people go into Quigley House and they have to try and escape. It's a full contact haunted escape room, and if the group can endure its horrors without shouting the safe word, they walk away with $60,000, and only one group in the house's history has ever won. But before they complete the challenge, someone breaks into Quigley House and kills one of the contestants. So, murder mystery. This is set after all that happened, I think. Yeah, I don't know if we know who's died. I think it might be leading up to it and maybe after it. Not really sure, but it sounds fantastic. Not a big fan of the cover itself. I think that's really garish, but yeah, those edges are everything. The next one I've heard great things about. Don't really know what it's about at all. I've read the summary, I still couldn't really summarize it for you. And that is Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. I've heard really good things about her other books, although I've never read any of them. But this has been getting really good reviews from people whose opinions I trust, and I figured I might as well add it to my pile, seeing as I went to Waterstones fully expecting to spend a lot of money, and I wanted to stack my shelves with some new reads. I'm trying to sort of branch out a bit more. I've been reading a lot of middle grade recently, and I want to try and get more fantasy on my shelves. Next is Among Thieves by M.J. Kuhn. Never heard anything about this book. I ummed and ahed a lot over whether I should get it or not, because I don't know anything about it. Then I checked Goodreads, and some of the reviews seemed really good and praised things that I really enjoy in books. And it sounds kind of like Six of Crows in a way, which I absolutely love. It's heist, it's fantasy, it's young teen protagonist, I think. There's lots of moral greyness. I think someone said there might be some queer characters. Don't know if that's true though. I couldn't really figure it out from the summary or from most of the reviews. So we'll see. This is about Raya. I don't know how to say her name. Raya. She's got one impossible job that she needs to do before she can be free, and she can't do it alone, so she has to team up with the Saints, who are a crew of uniquely skilled miscreants, smugglers and thieves, to carry off a death-defying heist into the most tightly guarded island in the kingdoms. That sounds like exactly the kind of thing I love to read. Next is an adult contemporary, which I don't read that much of anymore. It used to be all I read. When I was a teenager, I just was obsessed with adult contemporary for some reason. But now I've reversed and I read a lot more YA and middle grade. I think I read more middle grade now than I did at any other point in my life. And this next one is The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams. This I've been seeing quite a bit about online. I saw a lot of people buying it as part of their 50% off hardback haul because, I mean, it's bookish. It's a book about books. And I love this cover with the books on it. So this is about Alicia, who discovers a crumpled reading list tucked into a tattered library book, which sparks an extraordinary journey. And I just love the idea of that happening, of finding, I love finding like receipts and things and people's notes. I just love that snapshot into someone else's life. So it would be pretty cool to find someone's reading list tucked into a library book. So I just think this is going to be a really heartwarming tale. And this is another one that I think my dad would enjoy as well. So once I finished it, or if he finds it before I get to it, we can share it. This next one I wasn't going to get until I realised it was only £6 in the half price sale. And that is Devil's Advocate by Steve Kavanagh. I have loved every one of these books that he's done with this protagonist. I think it's Eddie Flynn. Yeah, Eddie Flynn, who is a hotshot lawyer who used to be a bit of a bad guy. And they're always really thrilling mysteries. It's sort of law crime. Really enjoyable. I've only ever listened to them on audio before, but I figured might as well pick one up. I mean, this is cheaper than an audiobook anyway. So this is, he's won every trial because he's behind every murder. So I'm guessing from that tagline, either like a judge or a prosecutor or a lawyer or some, one of those kind of people is the bad guy. And I love that idea because how do you prove that like a prosecutor is actually the murderer? I've never been disappointed by a Steve Kavanagh book. Next is another one that I saw on Rose's channel, which she got from the Goldsboro Sci-Fi Fantasy Book Club thing. This is just the Waterstones edition of Absinthe by Brendan P. Belcourt. It's the same on the front and back. This is sort of a dystopian historical fantasy, sort of. Well, not really fantasy, sci-fi, I think. I've read the summary several times and it doesn't make a ton of sense, but it sounded interesting. I am very intrigued when I don't understand a book summary at all. Like, the hell is this about? Dunno. Sounds good. And it is a signed limited first edition for, I think it was £9.50, so can't really complain. I think if I enjoy it, I would like to paint the edges myself to match this cover. Just the kind of green and gold I really like. I'm also tempted in 2022 to try the 50 States Challenge again. I've tried it 2 years in a row, never completed it, because I start off strong and I tick off all the obvious states like New York and California and Washington and Florida and Texas, which seem to pop up all the time. I get like 35 out of the 50 states read, and I can't find any of the other states. There are very few books that I'm interested in that are set in like Wyoming and Montana and places like that. But if I do the 50 states challenge, this is set in Illinois. So I am always on the lookout for books set in a state that is mentioned so that I can tick it off the list. And though I'm trying to read less books in 2022, because I put a lot of pressure on myself this year, I aimed for 100 and then ended up reading 365, and I just kept upping my count. And I want to take that pressure off. I want to be able to enjoy the books I'm reading more, read longer books, rather than just trying to like power through as many short ones as possible. I think that's kind of why I've got stuck in a middle grade rut at the moment, because I wanted to get loads of books read. I am up to 366 now. I think I'm about to finish Jade Legacy, which will be number 367, and there are still 2 days left in the month. So I'll probably finish a couple more middle grades in that time, and then start fresh. So the final book in my Waterstones half-price hardback haul is True Crime Story by Joseph Knox, which I've never heard of. I don't like the cover, but I picked it up because I was kind of intrigued. I mean, it's quite garish, it's very in your face, and I thought, let's see what that's all about. And it sounds right up my street. So this is about a girl who walked out of her flat and was never seen again, and several years later a writer picks up this case and wants to solve it. And it's written in a sort of like, the style is like podcast style in a way. I think there are several different styles used throughout the book, and I saw someone on Goodreads who gave it quite a average to low review, saying that it was written in the style of like Daisy Jones and the Six, and that made me buy it because I love the style of Daisy Jones and the Six. I love when books are written in just a slightly unusual style, like it's not just prose. So I picked it up and I'm really excited to get to this one. I am trying to, again, broaden my horizons a bit, so read different things. I mean, this isn't that different, it's still like a thriller by a white author, but I am going to make an effort in 2022 to read a lot more diverse books. I want to read a lot more books with queer protagonists and by authors of colour. I did make an effort in 2021 to do that as well, and I read some amazing books, but I would like I think Rachel Kerris put it as like the pie chart being 50% diverse reads. So I would like for at least 50% of the books I read in 2022 to be diverse in some way. Just something that isn't straight, white, cis-het, neurotypical, thin protagonist. And I want to read more diversity with the authors I read as well, and just branch out and try and read more books that are published by authors outside of the US and the UK. I'm terrible at that. I read very much American and UK books. So that's another thing I'm going to really try in 2022. And that is not reflected in the books I bought. I did not do that very well. I probably won't read all these this year. I would be surprised if I read even half of them this year, but they're on my shelves. So there we have it. That is my pretty big Waterstones haul, Christmas haul, everything I've received in the past 5 days or so. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.